What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we got to talk about card shows. It's weird out there right now, ladies and gentlemen. That's the best I could describe it to you. It is real weird out there right now. I'm going to couch this a little bit. I am speaking mostly about larger, let's call it regional plus size shows. Chantilly, Philly, Shipshawana, even Chicago Sports Spectacular, Burbank, Dallas, like that level of stuff. Though I will say it is starting to filter down even to the small locals as well. And like a little bit larger, like locals that have a little bit of rep to them. It's starting to filter down to that. Like if you have an 80 to 100 table local show, it's starting to get down to that level. So there is this we're in a weird place where it almost like we're in the, people say we're in the junk slab era, but there's like a legit inventory problem going on right now. So I'm going to couch this to the Chantilly show because that's the show that I was just at. And I've seen this play out time and time before, but it feels like it is getting amped up to an even higher level. Now, if you're just a casual show goer, if you just go and you're looking for cool stuff for your PC, or you're going to do autograph signings or buy some wax or whatever, this isn't affecting you. If you're someone like me who take the content and the social piece out of it, I am how would I classify myself if you remove the content side of it out? Side hustle flipper, I guess. Go to a show, make a few plays, make a few trades, buy a card here that I think might go up 50 or 60 bucks in a couple months. I'm not paying my bills with this nonsense. I just like to go spend a little bit of money, place some air quote bets on some slabs, maybe buy some clean raw cards to send in for grading, spend a few $100 to $1,000 over the course of a day or two, and maybe make a couple trades with some dealers, and then hit a trade night, get out of Dodge. I think that's where a lot of us fall into. We're somewhere in the middle there. And then there are the professionals, the professional flippers, repackers, whatnotters. I'm not talking about dealers setting up. So what is happening right now is, and I'm just going to use the term repackers, but I am referring to a lot of people are buying up to flip on whatnot as well. Essentially, what's happening are the repackers are either getting in the show the second that it opens, or in a lot of cases, they've upped their game to a new level and they are renting a table to get dealer access, to get in even earlier, buying out tables, buying up inventory, and then using the table as a buying station for people walking around. Now, in one hand, in the past, I've talked about, the ecosystem of the hobby and how repackers infuse liquidity into the market. And that is 100% true. They grease the skids of the sports card ecosystem by buying up inventory, wiping out dealers, flushing that money in. The dealers need to buy cards, so they're buying off the people walking around. But there's this, it's reached a point where it's almost gone too far. It's almost too extreme now. They're like a black hole. So this was the Chantilly show. It opened at 1 o'clock. I got there about 4-ish. I took one very first quick lap around. The number of tables, this was in the first couple hours of the show, that had holes all over them. In some cases, half a showcase is wiped out. Foot traffic was not that crazy. It was very easy to walk around. It was not that busy. However, almost every dealer that I talked to said, this is the best Friday show, the busiest Friday show I have had here in years. Years. about all the stuff that they sold. Remind you, the show floor had only been open for 3 hours, maybe not even that long. They just got wiped out. Some of them said they got wiped out before the show even opened. I talked to a couple different, I heard this story from multiple people that repackers were grabbing, I shouldn't say grabbing, but you know what I mean. They were snagging people in the parking lot before they walked into the show to buy from them. I heard multiple stories from multiple different people, from dealers, of repackers basically walking around with duffel bags full of cash buying. There was at least 4 to 5 tables set up just as buying stations for people to walk up to and sell them their stuff. Now, this sounds all great. Repackers are paying strong. They are too. 80 to 90% in a lot of cases. That sounds fantastic. However, we're to the point now where it's a weird spot with inventory. So what's happening is the repackers are coming in, and let's just say they're buying at 90%, just to keep the numbers simple. They're wiping out dealer tables, and they're wiping out the people walking around. Because say I'm walking around, and normally, a dealer would say, hey, you selling? Let me look at your case. Now the repackers are sucking up that as well. So the traditional dealer, and I've talked to multiple dealers about this, it's almost getting to the point where it's too extreme. I think it's actually past the point where it's too extreme, because they are having trouble sourcing inventory. Everyone, we are stuck, and I don't know how to get out of this. We're stuck on this comp system. So everyone uses eBay as the price guide, or Market Movers, or Card Ladder, or all, whatever. You're using secondary marketplacing sales as your Beckett. And everyone wants to work off those numbers. So the dealers who legitimately have, travel expense, table setup, whatever, they need to make at least a little bit of room to make it worth their while. If they're making 1%, 3%, 5% on a sale, that's not going to be enough to cover their expenses for moving around. And I get that. We'll talk about the card on the screen in a couple of minutes. The problem is with the repackers paying anywhere from 85 to 95%, and I even heard some stories of them paying stronger than that for certain if you had the right stuff. Now the dealers aren't getting inventory. The repackers are cutting off the inventory before it gets to the dealers. And the dealers, traditional dealer, can't pay 90% on most stuff, even if they almost have to now to get inventory. Because I need room, bro. Like, I get it. We're not talking about them buying at 40, 50, 60%. We're talking about the 80s and the 90s. Listen, if you get 85 or better, that is almost always a win. eBay's taking 13 off the get. And we're talking about cash transaction, money in hand. If you're getting 85 to 90 at a show, that is gold. That's way better than selling online, even with PayPal, friends, and family. Because you're not dealing with shipping or anything. You're just getting straight up cash. So the inventory is getting gobbled up by the repackers, and the repackers are driving the prices up. That sounds great. It sounds fantastic. Cool. I could sell my cards for more money, which isn't necessarily wrong, except what happens when everybody runs out of cards? As crazy as that sounds. I walked in there. My goal of the show was, hey, be cool, nice to find a couple Anthony Richardsons, something low end, some silver prisms. PSA 10 was like the number one card on my radar walking into this show. Anybody with a pulse in football, and if the dealer was appropriately priced, that stuff was gone. So you say, okay, now me as that mid-level show attendee walking around, it's not worth my time to go to the show. Because half the showcases have been wiped out already. And that's all the stuff that was reasonably priced. The other half is what you got up on the screen here. So what's my motivation to go? Now, for me, it's a little bit of a different equation. I'm a content creator. There's networking. There's the social aspect of it. I do almost enjoy going to the show more for the social aspect about it than buying and selling cards. So it's a little bit of a different math equation for me. But, if you take out the content part, rough time in the streets. Because the showcases that had good stuff wiped out. The ones that still have good stuff are probably way overpriced, or they just don't have good stuff. That's what it's coming down to when you walk around these shows. And the dealers, what are they supposed to do? All right, well, they need to pay more. All right, cool. So let's say they're buying at 90, 95% because they have to get inventory. All right. Well, when we come around and we want to buy a card off them and they have it stickered for $1,000, we'll use a CJ Stroud Silver. They sell for $1,000 all day long right now. They're right around $1,000. And let's say that dealer has to buy it at $950, maybe even $975. $9 at the best case scenario, most likely. They got to make something on it, on a liquid card like that to take a quick flip. They're probably going to sticker it at like $1,050, $1,100. And then we're going to come around and be like, hey, man, can I get that for $900? That's reasonable. $1,000 card. Can I get it for $900? And they're going to be like, best I could do is $1,000. That's full eBay comp. And if you really want the card, in a lot of cases, that's a good deal. If it's a card that you truly want. You have no room on it to do anything with it, which that's perfectly fine. Maybe you just want a CJ Stroud Silver. But stuff's just in a weird place at the moment with these shows. And, I've like I said earlier, I've talked about before, the repackers add a lot of liquidity to the market. They allow inventory and money to move around, but it's almost gotten too extreme. I'm having multiple dealers. This is dealers that are selling to these guys at strong comps starting to complain about this. I've had dealers from Dallas complain about this. I've had Midwest regional dealers complain about this. I had dealers at Chantilly complaining about this. It's swung too far. I've always talked about it. The sports card marketplace is an ecosystem, and everything has to be semi-imbalance for everything to kind of go around the circular. Happy Gilmore, it's all circular, circles. And we're in a spot right now where it's starting to skew one way too far, and it's like when your washing machine gets out of whack and starts jumping all around. I feel like we're kind of headed that way. And on my vlog style video that I did yesterday, a couple different people commented. They're like, you know what? I saw the same thing. I was at Chantilly. You're 100% right. Now, at something like the National, that show's almost too big for that to happen. Even at the Shipshawana show, some of that stuff happens. I know personally at Ships, a lot of my best stuff buying and selling has been at trade night at the Ship show. On the show floor itself, I've made some niche pickups. And in fact, I bought that Soto Gold at this last Ship show. That was a card that I think would have got gobbled up. The dealer said he just put it out. He just got it from somebody else. Because when I was walking around, I didn't see it the first time. It was there the second time. And that's the other thing. Guys, girls, if you're running one of these larger shows, if you're running either a full day travel style show like Ships or a multi-day show, you have to have a formal trade night. I don't care if your dealers complain about it. You do not understand what that does to elevate your show to a different level and also feeds more liquidity into the marketplace. Trade night is so important. It brings extra value for the trip. Chantilly did not have a formal trade night. There were some hotel pop-up ones, but nothing too crazy. I may have come out of Chantilly with a whole different vibe if I had a solid trade night one of the nights and then had, I'd have a whole different perspective coming out of that show potentially. Hey, I went there, I made some deals at trade night, had some extra cash in my pocket, walked into the show floor the next day, was feeling pretty good about myself, feeling like I was free rolling this extra $500,000 that I had. I'm more likely to put that in play because I sold off stuff the night before, maybe traded for stuff or trade plus cash, whatever the case might be. Trade night, very, very important. I know at the Philly show they had a formal one. It sounds like they don't really have one at Chantilly anymore. I really think you should. They had a kids trade night, but have something for the adults too. Even if it's just one night, even if it's just Saturday night or Friday night, pick a night, whatever it is. Whether it's on-site, off-site, you got to figure that out. You need something like that. It is so important to those shows. I know Shipshawana has one, and it makes it, in my opinion, that's a one-day show. That trade night is what elevated that show to the next level. There's a lot of great things Brad has done with that show. The trade night being the night before is a game changer because it makes it worth the trip. Because I could say this is Ships is like a 4-hour drive from Ohio. I know a ton of people from Ohio that go to that show. A big reason why is because they drive out the night before and they get the added value of the trade night along with the show the whole next day. So they justify that night stay because they're getting the trade night out of it. That brings a lot of, I don't think people realize Brad Beeman's figured it out. I don't think a lot of places have mastered that at the smaller regional, the more regional shows. Dallas, massive. I've never been there, but I've seen the videos. Massive trade nights. That matters. That helps bring people in. Let's close on this show pricing. What the hell are we doing here? With the example that I have on the screen. This is a photo that I took. This was a silver Deshaun Watson in a case priced for $400. They are currently selling on eBay for a little over $100. This card has not comped anywhere close to $400 since late spring, early summer of 2022. I get it. Updating your prices every single show could be a pain in the butt. Could we do it once a year? Maybe. The problem with this is, and here's the thing, I didn't even bother talking to the dealer. And this wasn't even a card I was interested in. I saw the price and I'm like, huh? When did that happen? And then checked my phone because I saw that and it seemed way off. I'm like, what? Did I miss a memo? The problem is when you were that out of whack, maybe if he had a price at 200, I wouldn't have even batted an eye. But at 400, and maybe the guy would have taken $80 for it. I have no idea. You know why? I'm never even going to ask when your sticker's that far out of whack because to me, in my mind, you're not even in touch with reality. If you're going to take the time to set up at a show, price your stuff accordingly. At least update it once a quarter. I mean, this card hasn't been that price forever, and it'll be lucky if it gets back to that price. Thank the Lord, because that means the Browns had a hell of a season, and I'm feeling real good about things. Price your stuff, or if you're gonna price your stuff, at least update it every once in a while. If you're not gonna update the prices, just pull the sticker off, because that is honestly a turn off to your table. I see that. I don't want to look at another card in your case. I'm just walking away because my assumption is you are not in touch with reality. I could be completely wrong. You know what happens when you make assumptions? But by having that out there, it's an immediate turn off to the entire table. I just don't even feel like dealing with the mental energy of trying to negotiate with you on stuff. Even though you could be the nicest person in the world, and I might have walked up and said, hey, will you take 80 for this? And they'd be like, yep, no problem. Done deal. Here you go. Been waiting for someone to say $80 on this card. Ain't going to be me because I'm not even going to bother to ask. Now, maybe that's a mistake on my part for thinking like that. Is what it is. I've had too many bad interactions with show dealers on dumb prices on cards. I don't care what you're into it for. That's not my problem. Do you want to sell a card, or do you want to tote a card around the country with you and put it on display for people to look at? Pick one. I'm not here to Monday morning quarterback how you price your cards, but if you're setting up at a show to sell cards, you should at least be in the realm of what the card sells for on eBay. If buy it nows are listed for $200 less than what you're at on the sticker, basically 50%. If buy it nows on eBay are 50% cheaper than what you're stickered at, that is a problem. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people that have a $500 card stickered at $600. Fine. Go with God. Do your thing. I don't care. When you're double the cheapest bin on eBay and you're triple what they're almost triple what they're actually selling for, that's a whole different bag of cats. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Are you boys and girls seeing the same thing with this repacker craziness? Do we have are we in a weird spot with inventory right now where the good stuff is getting the repackers are like a black hole? All the cards are getting sucked into there and then they're getting spit back out on the other side. But the part that I can't figure out on this whole equation is who is spending all this money on repacks that people are walking in with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to buy up inventory to then repack it or flip it on whatnot. Where are all those cards going? Those cards are going somewhere. Someone's just not buying all this stuff and building a Game of Thrones style throne, an iron throne of plastic slabs. I'm not in the whatnot crowd. I don't hang out on whatnot all day long. Is that where all the action's going on? Is it TikTok? Is it Fanatics Live? I just don't understand where all this inventory is going, but it keeps getting sucked up. What are you boys and girls seeing out there? Let me know in the comments down below. Off-center tonight, I believe, so I'll catch you all on a live stream. Sorry, this is a little bit of a longer one, but a lot to talk about here, a lot to unpack. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.